All right. Cheers, everyone. I am Amy Mitchell with Houses of Windsor, and you're watching Virtual Tea Time with Amy. And today, my special guest is Trevor Gibbs of Charity Revolution. Thank you for being on, Trevor.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Amy. It's a great pleasure to see you for a change.
Yes. So Trevor and I know each other through the British American Chamber of Commerce in Orlando. I like to just call it the British Chamber, but it's technically British American. Yeah, so before we get too far into it, Trevor, tell me what you're drinking and where you're calling from, like city and state.
Well, this might surprise you. My city is Guarulhos and my state is São Paulo. So I better add a country to that is Brazil.
Oh, wow.
So bearing that in mind, my blend is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a papaya mix with lemongrass and peppermint. So,
ooh, very nice. Very nice. Cheers. And I have vanilla chai that I'm drinking. I'm calling from Orlando. Well, technically Altamont Springs, but still. For everyone who doesn't know Florida, just say Orlando. And I'm drinking vanilla chai. So I have a thing where people made fun of me because I see the seasons based on the school year calendar, and we used to start school in August. So to me, fall starts in August and summer begins in May. I understand that those are not the technical, that technically it's September 21st before we get to fall. I understand that, but.
This is why in England the schools don't start until September.
Right. Well, that would be great. But
if we were there.
Right. So I feel like fall is coming. It is harder to argue this down in Florida. Up in Indiana, it was a little easier. It's already starting. They have some cool days there right now into August. But so anyway, my point is that chai, I always feel like, is a very fall drink or like holiday drink. And it's August 10th. So I say fall is almost here. So you can drink your chai now. I have some friends that are with me on that, and I saw one of them post that they just bought a pumpkin decoration for their door and they already put it out. Oh. So I'm not alone in my craziness.
Anything that I had to get used to with pumpkin pies for Halloween.
Oh, yeah. So do they even fix is there a pumpkin pie like recipe in England? Is there? Do you guys even make pumpkin pie? No. Okay. I don't actually like it. I try it every year and I never end up liking it. I always want to. It smells good.
Well, the nearest we get to pumpkin pie, I guess, is when I decide to pure it up and make either a pumpkin soup and we roast it, which is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Or sometimes might fill it for some of the pumpkins with risotto or fill it in with pasta.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's very fancy.
Well, you might find out why a little bit later.
Okay. That's great. So Trevor, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your business before we get into the other questions?
Okay. Well, my business is called Charity Revolution, and what we do is help to engage either your current client or your future clients, all the method with using mobile apps, as you can probably see. The idea of that is, especially for non-profits, we do work with profits as well. It's a two-sided combination here. You need one for the other.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is actually to get either donors and sponsors to be represented, take the donors to become clients of the local business, and that local business in turn can incentivize and reward them for being a patron. Mm-hmm. And likewise, any patrons to that business can also see the goodwill that they're doing for the local community, and those patrons become donors and sponsors of a local charity. That's part of it. It's really a marketing company. Mm-hmm. You put your social media into one place so it's 100% readable. You can put your events there. You can put your contact details there. And as you well know, nobody can't leave home without a mobile device these days.
Right.
In fact, sometimes some mobile devices go more places than your partner.
That's true.
So that's what we do. It's kind of mobile marketing, text messaging, Everything you do today, if you think about emails,
Right.
48% of them get caught by a spam bot before they even get to
That's
you.
true. Right.
96% of text messaging actually gets opened in the first 90 seconds of arrival.
Mm.
So if we're on a mobile device and the response rate is that high, why isn't everybody using their mobile devices for business and communication?
Right. Right. And yeah, and I think it's so cool that you get your own app, like that you make
You
the app.
definitely get your own app. As you probably noticed from the background here, Basecamp in Winter Park recently
Yes.
launched their app about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
So we're helping to promote them as well, so
Very
they can engage with their clients.
And what do they do? Basecamp.
They are a children's cancer foundation.
Oh, okay.
So we are adding a revenue program to that where
Mm-hmm.
they can incentivize their followers to follow them. Things
Mm-hmm.
like Amazon Smile, you may have heard of for charities.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon Smile is a great program, but it does only pay 0.5%. Where if you leverage it
Right.
through your own personal app, we can
Mm-hmm.
get 1.5%.
Oh, okay.
If you sign up for Amazon Music or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
everybody who signs up, we give a $2 donation back.
Mm-hmm.
Working with the British American Chamber of Commerce, they have a benefits package, and that in turn, anybody who takes those benefits for things like healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
identity theft, car breakdown, pet care, will writing, all those
Mm-hmm.
sort of wonderful benefits that I'm sure you know about,
Yes.
but we can actually pay back a premium every month to the charity, which is great.
Right.
And then working with local businesses in the same way. You may work with them and say, well, if you come along with us and spend at our store, we'll give a donation or a percentage back. It's
Mhm.
all a way of building community.
That's really cool. So I have to ask the technical side of things. Are you like a tech person? Are you like, I don't know, what have you done coding and all that stuff? I don't even know what the terms are.
Well, am I a tech person? Yes. Am I a coder? No. I'm more of a marketer.
Okay, okay.
A marketer and design. And
Okay.
that flair, I think, started out when I was quite young.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually am a qualified chef, hence why I don't use pumpkin pies. I use them for risottos and pasta.
I love it.
So, that was how it started. And I
Yeah.
remember once somebody said to me, I don't see the connection between database marketing and being a chef. And I said, well, if you take eggs, flour, and milk,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the ratios, you can either end up with a Yorkshire pudding or a
Mm-hmm.
batter for a pancake, or you
Right.
can end up with a whole cake.
Right.
Is all a matter of principles. So once you follow a logic line, you
Mm-hmm.
get a different answer, and that's really what marketing is all about. You take a strategic line
Mm-hmm.
and apply it.
That's really interesting. So because you mentioned Yorkshire pudding, we have to talk about it for a second because I've only made it twice now, and both times I tried to make toad in the hole. But I
Oh,
used
that's,
I just used like the little smoky things. I mean, I made like American toad in the hole, but I had an actual Yorkshire pudding like mix. All you had to do was add water. So the first time I made it, they came out so big and giant and fluffy and like great. And then I made them this weekend and they just never rose up and they like turned hard and I didn't understand what I did wrong because I thought I did the
oh,
same thing. So do you
well,
know?
it's a very simple dish to make, but a even easier dish to get wrong.
Yeah.
And a couple of the tips are always let your batter stand for a good 30 minutes,
Oh, okay.
or don't mix it and pour it.
Right, right.
The hotter your baking tin, the better. So if you've got oil in there, it
Mm-hmm.
should sizzle
Right, right.
when you first
And
put it
it
in.
was sizzling, yeah. But I think I used a bunch, I think I overused the oil on the first time. And so this time I tried to do not as much oil. So maybe I didn't put enough in. I don't know.
Maybe it can happen. You can
Yeah.
also do if you open the oven door halfway through. It's a little. Got to think about it.
Okay.
A little bit like a souffle. If you
Mm-hmm.
ever open an oven door when you cook a souffle, all the air goes and the temperature drops. So
I
therefore the
see.
souffle thins.
So it
And
messes it
Yorkshire
up.
pudding can do the same thing. If
Okay.
you put it at the bottom of the oven, can also
Mm-hmm.
affect it. So
Mm-hmm.
they sound very easy to make, but I just realised I made it sound very complicated. But usually, you mix up
I
the
know.
batter, leave it, put it in the oven, take it out
Right.
25 minutes later. Job
Right.
done.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's why I thought since I made it the first time, and I mean, it didn't look pretty, but it tasted great and it got all fluffy. I was like, oh, that is easy. And then so I expected the exact same result the second time, and I didn't get that.
Interesting. In fact, you saying that Saturday I did Yorkshire puddings at home
Oh,
first time
really?
in a couple of years. Yeah, I didn't have the sausages.
Mm-hmm.
I had some leftover chicken, so
Mm-hmm.
I put some herbs in the batter
Oh,
and let
yeah.
it sit there. And had some chicken and bacon, put it in the
Mm-hmm.
bottom of the pan, and poured the batter over. So
Oh,
it's kind of
wow.
like a toad in the hole
Yeah, yeah, that's
made with
really
chicken and bacon.
right, right. Oh my gosh, that's the fancier toad in the hole. That's awesome. Okay, so sorry, I had to digress on the Yorkshire
No worries.
pudding because I just talked. So, okay, so I guess, okay, before I start asking you random questions, is there anything else you want to talk about with your company and your app?
I'm sure I can do a pitch halfway when a random question comes in because I can have a random thought
Sure.
about it.
Okay.
But one thing I would like to do is say, you can see the QR code behind us.
Hmm.
If anybody's interested to see what work Basecamp is doing, just hold your camera there and let it scan the QR code,
Hmm.
or go to their Facebook page and download and have a look. And to give $1 donation, you actually get something back for free. So you're
Right.
not actually taking money out of your pocket, and
Hmm.
every dollar helps. And as Terry was saying from Basecamp, if she knew a million people to give $1, her job would be done.
Oh, right.
Unfortunately, she doesn't know one person with $1 million, so we're
Hmm.
asking a million people.
Right, right. I like that. That's good. So I have a feeling I know what we're going to talk about, but what is your obsession or special interest that is not business related?
Business related. Biscuits, cookies,
Biscuits.
no, no, food.
I
Because I
love
suddenly
it.
realised when we're drinking tea, and an appropriate tea time is 3 o'clock
Hmm.
in the afternoon,
Right.
and I happen to have biscuits.
I would say, so are your biscuits plain or do you have, are there any chocolate or anything?
There is chocolate inside.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I never eat the plain ones. I
no,
always have to have the chocolate on them.
yeah, you have to. You've got to have a little bit of naughty now and again, haven't you?
Yeah,
So,
that's
so yeah,
awesome.
my passion is obviously food.
Okay, and so you said you were a professional chef. Is that what you said?
Correct. Yes,
Yes.
I trained for 3 years as in catering and
Mm-hmm.
hotel management,
Oh, wow.
and then luckily that I finished that at 18, 19,
Oh, wow.
and went into some local restaurants in my hometown in England, a town
Mm-hmm.
called Cheltenham,
Mm-hmm.
Cheltenham Spa, quite famous for its races and its spa water.
Mm-hmm.
By the age of 21, I actually had my own kitchens
Oh my
in the
goodness.
restaurant.
Wow.
So I did very well there. And, I had menu creations and
Mm-hmm.
what have you. And we had technically three restaurants. One was like a little sit down restaurant where you could
Mm-hmm.
do traditional English fare, another one with bar foods.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also attributed a little bit to, like, say, a Longhorns restaurant.
Oh, okay. Right.
It was called a steakhouse,
Mm-hmm.
and on the side of us, because it was connected, it was two buildings together.
Mm-hmm.
One was uh, traditional fare. We had like the Beefeater or the Bernie Inns as such
Mm-hmm.
as a brand, and quite occasionally I could go in there and turn a quick steak as well, or
Wow.
bring some back for steak and kidney pie.
Right.
They always knew I was on the scrounge for something. Well, what's
Right.
he after now? So yeah, I was always
That's awesome.
making something.
So did you like where did this interest come from? Like were you interested in cooking as a kid? Was there someone in your family that was a great cook or not a great cook that inspired you?
Well, I think it came from when I was a kid. Mum believed that we should be able to survive when I grew up, but I was only
Mhm.
like 7 or 8 at the time. And then
Mhm.
my mum became ill
Mhm.
for a period of time,
Mhm.
and I said, well, I watched mum cook dinner, so the first thing I decided to do on the Sunday is I might as well cook the Sunday dinner because my
Yeah.
father had no idea what to do with it. He would have burnt it before taking
Right.
it out of the packet. He'd
Mhm.
burnt the packet first and wondered why it was still raw.
Right.
So I did the whole Sunday dinner by myself, and I made
Oh,
one mistake, a
what
criminal
was?
mistake, and that's when you make your roast gravy.
Mhm.
Well, you roast your potatoes in oil, and you get the juices from the meat that's going into the flavor of the potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, you meant to drain the fat off, and then
Mm-hmm.
use the rest of what's stuck to the pan to make a
Mm-hmm.
gravy.
Okay.
I forgot to drain the fat off, so we
Oh
had
no.
oily gravy that week. And that was my first mistake and my first time of cooking.
Well,
So
that's not so bad then. That's pretty
uh,
good.
it wasn't bad.
So I
Yeah,
always, oh, sorry. I was gonna say I always hear about the Sunday roast. And remind me, and then for anyone watching who doesn't know, what does a proper like English Sunday roast consist of?
as we traditionally say, meat and two veg.
Oh,
So
okay.
so it could be technically a top side of beef,
Mm-hmm.
which would then be roasted, or a leg of pork, or a leg of lamb.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just generally roasted in the oven.
Oh,
You
okay.
take your potatoes and roast it in the same pan to get
Mm-hmm.
that flavor into them. And
Right.
you usually a couple of vegetables of some kind.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
Make Yorkshire pudding to go with the beef.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the gravy comes in,
Right.
because obviously you need lashings of good gravy so that the Yorkshire pudding soaks up all that flavour.
Right.
Um, and then a nice sticky toffee pudding to follow, or something like that.
Oh, yum. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that it could be any kind of meat. I thought it would like had to be a certain one. So
No, it's just
just
generally a joint. You know,
okay.
you wouldn't do a steak, you wouldn't do sausages or burgers
I
or anything
see.
like
I
that.
see.
So
Okay.
you know, once you've taken out, it could even be a roast chicken, or a
Okay. But like
turkey,
a one
uh,
piece thing. Yeah.
a one piece steak. Take it out, let it rest, and then obviously you carve it until you get slices of meat
Hmm.
with your vegetables and potatoes.
So how long does it take to roast something like that?
Depends on the size and the family and the size of the meat.
Okay. How about the one that? Do you remember the first one you did? How long did it
Oh,
take?
probably a good couple of hours, I would have
Yeah,
thought,
that's what
because
I think.
I don't think I really learned how the procedure would go. You know,
Hmm.
I probably started with the meat and then thought about, maybe I should boil some potatoes and put those in the oven.
Hmm.
Well, generally the potatoes take just as long as the meat.
Oh,
So
I see.
probably my meat was probably already in the oven a good
Hmm.
30 minutes before I'd even done the potatoes.
I see.
That's a long time ago. You know, that's a
Right.
long time to remember.
Yeah. So also I guess about Yorkshire pudding is I remembered as you were talking about like the gravy and what you eat it with. So when we first met at the British Chambers event at the Windsor Rose Tea Room when we did the dinner and we were at the
Yes.
table together, that was the first time I'd ever had Yorkshire pudding. I had never had it before. I honestly didn't realize what it was. So I suppose perhaps at some point I did eat it and didn't remember and didn't know that's what it was. But that was the first time I knew I was eating Yorkshire pudding.
Uh, and a lot of people always think it's something very exotic and very heavy, and it's the complete
Right.
opposite. It's very
Yeah.
simple and very light.
It's just like a light breaded pastry. Like it's not, yeah, a
I,
big.
I would just call it. If you think of a batter for a pancake, it's
Mm-hmm.
the same as that. It's just baked in the oven, so it turns
That's
into a
true.
very kind of similar to, as I said, a souffle.
Okay. Which
Made
I've
out of
never made
butter.
it. I've never made a souffle, but I know what you're
Yeah,
talking.
but you've probably seen a picture of the souffle, something light and fluffy.
Right, right.
Uh, this will be the British souffle, I guess, as the call it.
Right.
But
Well, and it's hard for us Americans because pudding to us is I'm not actually a fan of pudding, so it's that, totally different. The gross, like, vanilla chocolate pudding, whatever. Like the
is that
Jello
hot or
brand.
cold?
Hmm?
Is that hot or cold pudding?
Cold. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you can get them in the little cups at the store, or you can make it.
Oh,
Yeah.
the thing that you call Jello, as we call jelly.
Well, right. So, but Jello is separate from pudding.
But they come in the same pots.
No. Huh. Well, you can get them in the same type of cup at the store, but they are different. Yeah, they're totally different. Yeah, textures. Um, yeah. So okay. So what we call Jello, you call jelly.
Correct.
Okay. And then we have jelly and we have jam, but you guys only really have jam, right? Like for peanut
Correct.
butter
We
and
have jam, yes.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that the English people don't love our like grape jelly and stuff. It doesn't
No,
spread real well.
yeah, it's something to do with either the flavor of the grape or because there's no bits in your,
Right. Hmm.
it is technically what we would call. You can see why it's called a jelly
Yeah,
because
right.
if you was to get it out of the pot and put it on a plate, it would just sit there and wobble,
Exactly.
and it would be kind of semi-transparent. Where a jam, technically, you see the piece of the fruit or the seeds of the strawberries or the
Right.
raspberries in it, so you
Right.
actually get bulk to it as well.
Hmm. I'm a fan of jam. It's yeah, I feel and it just spreads better. Like it tastes, yeah, it has more of a taste and spreads better. So
Yeah.
I'm on board with that. But so when you worked at the restaurants, when you had your own kitchen at 21, what I guess were like I know you said that you got to create your own things for the menu, but kind of like what was kind of the coolest or craziest thing that you've created before for a menu? Like, did you have to stay within certain parameters?
Yeah, usually
Yeah.
cost.
Kind of like cuisine, like styles.
No, I had free reign, which was great. We had always a traditional roast on,
Hmm.
so that was on nearly every day. We always had things like quiche and chickens. We did lasagnas,
Mm.
a lot of those. But when it actually came to the sit down, it was freedom of choice. And I
Mm.
remember one story. I did a lamb and rosemary casserole,
Hmm.
and it was great. Everybody loved it until one day a lady came in and went up to the counter and said,
Hmm.
"Excuse me, but I hate to tell you this, but I think there are some bristles in my dinner."
Hmm.
Now, bristles are like the bits that come off a brush.
Right.
And of course, the waitress promptly takes it away and changes it. We'd like, oh, yes, we'd like another one because I don't like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And promptly complains again. So in the end, the waitress calls me up from the kitchen and says, "Trevor, we have a problem. The lady
Hmm.
complained there are bristles in the lamb and roast casserole." And I said, "Well, I hope you replaced it." Of course.
Yeah.
When we get there, when we kind of questioned and spoke to the lady, she didn't really know what rosemary was. So all the pine needles that she thought were bristles from a brush was actually the
That's great.
rosemary leaves.
That's really funny. She thought you dropped it in the pine trees.
Yes, yeah. Just well, we didn't have pine trees or it was Christmas. We complained that we
Right.
stirred the pot with the Christmas
Right.
tree.
That's great. So, I'm guessing based on what you said about the pumpkin stuff, you still cook a lot now for fun for yourself,
I
right?
do,
Yes.
yes. You
And
know, not every day.
mhm.
I take the cheats way while I'm working, so
Mhm.
I kind of prep a lot of things, and I think for the week what I'm having. So things like sauces, they're very
Mhm.
good to buy, boil up today, and a soup,
Mhm.
and put them in the freezer, so I can have like soup a couple of times.
Oh wow.
And my sauces for my base, you know,
Mhm.
it is great because I can go to the kitchen now. I mean, in 30 minutes, I can come out with something
Right.
where if you've got to keep making it from scratch, and I'm
Mhm.
still that traditionalist that everything has to be made from scratch.
Mhm.
So if I'm buying anything, the nearest thing I might buy might be the honey from the beehive, or the jelly or the jam
Right.
to make something a little bit sweeter or sweet and
Mhm.
sour. But I don't stick to traditional recipes. I'm always more creative. So when we have
Okay.
people round, they
Mhm.
say, "What we having?" I haven't decided yet. It depends what's in the fridge or the freezer or what I'm
That's
finding
good.
at the supermarket.
Right.
I,
Right.
I, I cook based on what I see
Okay.
and what I can find,
Mhm.
which always adds variety. It always puts a challenge sometimes to
Right. That's
me
neat.
because it's like, well, how do I combine this product and that herb which
Mhm.
never been together before?
Right. Right. That's really nice. So, how long did you work in the chef world or as a chef?
Well, I started when I was 18 and I probably finished when I was about 25.
Okay.
Suddenly realized after
Mhm.
that 7 years that if I wanted to make something of myself, I needed to learn how to run a business.
I see.
So I then went to night school and learned things about bookkeeping and accounting.
Mm.
And that
Okay.
then sort of took me away from the catering scene for quite a while. And I
Mhm.
suddenly looked around that everybody who retires from the catering are in their early 40s. You don't see
Mhm.
people 50 or 60.
Right.
retiring. And, I'm coming up now 25 to 27. I'm thinking,
Mhm.
unless I win the lottery, I can own my own restaurant. This is going to be a tough career.
Mhm.
I have to find something else. So I then actually worked for a transport company,
Mhm.
uh, doing ticket audit, sales, accounting,
Mhm.
uh, and things like that, which then brought me to the tech side of the business. And I always had a
Mhm.
flair with numbers.
Yeah.
Then moved me into the marketing things after working for a financial services company.
Oh wow. And when did you move from England to the US?
I never actually moved from the UK to the US.
No?
Oh, no, I went to Brazil first. I met a
Oh.
lady. I met a lady in London who was lost looking for Covent Garden.
That's great.
So
So you
being
helped her.
the British gentleman, I was like,
Right.
you
Mhm.
go down. Oh, come on, I'll show you.
Right, right.
And, that's how it started. We traded an email, and from there on, we passed Happy Christmas
Mhm.
cards to each other and birthday cards. And she was actually engaged to a guy in Brazil, and I
Mhm.
was actually in a relationship with a woman in South California.
Oh wow.
So I was still US based as such.
Right,
And
right.
it just so happened that both of us split up from our relationships within a few
Mhm.
couple of months of each other,
Oh wow.
and reached out, and that was it. And like, well, go to Brazil and get married. Well, I got married. We got married in England,
Mhm.
and then I moved to Brazil for like 10 years
Oh
before
my
coming to
gosh.
the US. So we're late arrivals to Orlando. We didn't get there until what 2014, so 6 years
Oh
ago.
wow. So what did you think? This is a two-part question. So when you moved to Brazil, what was your take, I guess, on like the cuisine and how they cook there? Like what did you take out of like from that you liked? And then the same question for the States.
Well, it's a bit unfair for the States because I think the American cuisine has been influencing at least the British people for quite a
Mm-hmm.
while. When you think of
Oh,
traditional things like the burgers, the fries, the
right.
McDonald's, the Burger Kings, as a kid, I I love that. I always wanted the
Okay.
American things, the American candies, the Hershey's chocolate.
Right. Oh, that's
Uh,
hilarious.
so yeah, I remember as a kid, a few of us at school, we would listen to the American Forces baseball games just because it was American. So it wasn't kind of like oh wow, here is American cuisine for me because
Because you already knew.
I was kind of taking that with me as I grew.
Mm-hmm.
But when I moved to Brazil, what I found is that they love their meat. They love
Mm.
barbecues. Um,
Okay.
they they're not as adventurous with maybe strong, spicy. They like peppery
Mm-hmm.
things. Don't get me wrong, but they're
Okay.
not adventurous with let's say having curries or
Okay.
Japanese foods.
Mm-hmm.
They love sushi,
Right.
but you don't find the Chinese food. Strangely,
Okay.
like you do in the US, a whole
Mm-hmm.
variety. Just have this conversation.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely fresh food, traditionalist.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of beef, rice and beans is very staple. I think
Right.
your feijoada is very good, which is a combination of pork parts,
Mm-hmm.
sausage, um, cooked in with black beans.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
So it's kind of like a casserole with,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess the French would call it a cassoulet, is
Mm-hmm.
their equivalent, just like they would use duck.
Oh wow. Okay.
But here they would use pig parts.
Mm-hmm.
And yes,
Wow.
pig parts they
Yeah, I
use.
know. It's like doesn't sound as great.
The first one I had wasn't that good because
Okay.
obviously pork is a fatty
Mm-hmm.
meat, and
Mm-hmm.
they gave you wedges of orange
Mm-hmm.
to eat with it to cut through that.
Oh
So
wow.
that was the traditional one. But
Uh-huh.
now everybody is more conscious of that. So you have what we call the lean version. So they're
Okay.
using leaner sausage, leaner
Mm-hmm.
cuts of pork. And, it is actually a very good flavor. It's very wholesome, very homely, and
Mm-hmm.
very fulfilling.
That's really cool. So, are there any foods that you don't like? And which made me think of this is because you talk about black beans and rice, and I hardly like any beans. Okay. I think it's a texture thing. I don't like black beans. I'll eat baked beans, and I'll
And that's
eat
white beans.
green beans, but I don't like chili with beans. I don't like I don't know, lima bean, just any other bean. I don't want it. Even like refried beans. It's just I don't know, there's something about the texture that I don't like.
Oh, I was going to say, what about chickpea?
Oh no, I really don't like this. I've tried. I
Okay,
really don't.
lentils?
No, I
No?
tried that too. Yeah, because I
So
thought like
like,
they're small, so I thought maybe it'd be okay, but it wasn't. So yeah, so at least I try.
tried. Yeah.
I've tried them. So do you have anything that, even though you know like to be creative, is there something that you've just never liked?
Uh, no. So certain flavors I don't like. Now,
Okay.
weirdly enough, I don't like honey mustard.
Oh, okay. That's something I
Now,
do like.
which is, yeah. Well, I can see why, because you don't like beans. But no, honey mustard. I know a sweet and sour flavors are great, but this is just two flavors that I just cannot get into. I've tried
Really?
it.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried making my own just in
Mm-hmm.
case it's because of the way
Right.
it's made, and
Still no.
yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I used to hate, like all kids in England,
Mm-hmm.
Brussels sprouts. Oh my God, no, Brussels
Oh,
sprouts,
right.
no,
Mm-hmm.
horrible. Because you think when we grew up, everything was chucked in a pot of water and boiled to death.
Yeah, and it's just great. Yeah,
Yeah, so it wasn't great.
not flavored. Yeah,
No, but
or
but
seasoned.
now that we fry them and roast them,
Right.
and they're smaller. And those
Mm-hmm.
these Indian people are much younger, so they have
Mm-hmm.
a more of a sweeter, nuttier taste.
Mm-hmm.
One of the vegetables I miss from
Mm-hmm.
England,
Mm-hmm.
parsnips.
Okay, remind me, because is that, are those like carrots? What are
That's like the
those?
white carrot,
White
yes.
carrots. Okay. So do they taste a lot different? What do they
Completely different.
really?
It's a unique flavor, all of its own. I guess if you were to cross I don't know, maybe a fennel, a turnip, and a carrot together, you would end up with a
Yeah.
parsnip.
Okay. Well, now I don't know if I've ever had a turnip. I
Ah,
can't think. So I'm like, I don't know what the parsnip tastes like.
okay. Well, they do sell them in the US. I have seen them in Publix.
Okay.
So look, if you can't remember the name, do you have any white carrots?
Right. Yeah.
I asked for a parsnip, and the server at Publix says, "Is that the thing that's like a white carrot?"
I love it.
Yes,
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
exactly.
That's great. So how do you eat a turnip? It's like, obviously I know what a turnip is, but I just realized I've never even, I don't think it's even like come across, like I have been served a turnip. What do you do with turnips?
Well, two traditional things. One, you put them in a Cornish pasty,
Oh, okay.
which is like a meat pie
Mm-hmm.
with meat and vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
carrots and turnips together, or you tend to boil it and you puree it
Okay.
quite often. So that's about it. It's just a
And
puree. It's great
what
for puree.
what texture is it, like kind of like a potato or like a is
When you first peel it, it's much harder than a potato.
okay.
It's twice as hard as. So it's
Okay.
really tough to cut and peel. But
Mm-hmm.
once you've done it, which is why probably it's then boiled to turn it into a puree. Because
Okay.
there isn't much else you can do there. I guess you could actually parboil it and maybe roast it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just thinking of modern techniques today, maybe
Right.
even fry it.
Right. Right.
Chuck it in the hot fat fryer, it cooks anything. You know, English
Right.
are great at frying things. If it's not fish and chips, we'll
Mm-hmm.
batter a Snickers bar and chuck it in the fryer and have that.
That's great. Yeah, that's what yeah, the US, we do that at like county fairs and things, or state fairs, is they deep fry everything. Twinkies, Oreos, everything. So I wanted to ask you though, is the honey mustard, is that a pretty American thing? Or did you guys have that as a sauce in England?
Uh, I have seen it there. It was just one of those flavors that I never really got onto.
Okay. I didn't know if it was just like a
So
weird thing we did. Yeah.
it's not recent. It's been years.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the other one flavor I don't like is butterscotch caramel.
Oh. Oh
Doesn't
wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
I can see when we have dinner, it's a meal for Amy by herself and a meal for Trevor by himself.
It's going to be, yes.
Or we buy one meal and you pick the bits you want and I'll pick the
That's
bits I
great.
want.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. I'll try some parsnips. You can fix parsnips.
Yeah, I'll try the opposite of a white carrot and have a
Right,
orange one.
right. Well, I do have let's see. So you're talking about the Sunday roast, and I do have experience with Bubble and Squeak, which I do love Bubble and Squeak.
Yeah.
We had that when I studied abroad in London. One of the oh, I don't know what you want to call them, chaperones, whatever you want to call them, the adults of the group, they had us over to where they were staying and they fixed Bubble and Squeak. And I thought it was delicious. And then when we got back to Indiana, my friends and I, we tried making it too. But as we were told by our British friend who lived down the hall, he was like, well, he's like, you're doing it all wrong because we were making it from scratch. And he was like, no, the whole point is it's leftovers.
Exactly. Yes. Bubble and Squeak. After our Sunday roast, guess what you have on Monday?
Right.
Bubble and Squeak.
Right. Right.
Because it's the cold potatoes. Sometimes you might add a couple of boiled potatoes to it if you didn't have them on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Then the leftover cabbage, Brussels,
Yes.
some carrots, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of mix it together and fry it. And
Right.
a nice soft fried boiled egg on top. Perfect.
Oh, nice. Well, we didn't know about the egg, but
Really? Oh, you're missing
yeah.
out. You're missing out.
But
Yeah,
I love,
you have to
yeah.
take your hash browns with fried eggs in the morning.
Oh, okay.
You know when you cut that egg and it soups
Right,
into
right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Same principle, just different flavor.
Okay. I see. Okay. So, yeah, so I love, yeah, Bubble and Squeak. Haven't had it in forever, but I do remember, yeah, we cooked up a whole bunch of cabbage and attempted to make it.
And you almost got to burn it to get that crisp on the outside.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we did it quite right.
Oh. Well,
But we tried.
maybe we should have an afternoon tea session on cooking Bubble and
Yes.
Squeak.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be really fun. So I don't want to run out of time to ask you this question because I believe that you said you for sure have an answer on it.
Okay.
So do you have any ghost or alien stories or anything that's unexplained that's happened to you or someone you know that's a pretty good story?
Sure, I've
Okay,
got that. It's not
perfect.
alien related.
Okay, that's
It's
right.
ghost related.
That's all right.
True story because I was involved with it, and part of it will be hearsay from my mother because I was only 4 at the time.
Okay.
So we moved into a brand new house, really
Mm-hmm.
brand new. Moved in, and the dog would never go upstairs. And one day I'm at the bottom of the stairs. I complain of a funny man at the top of the stairs, and I can
No.
almost visualize him still today. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
wear kind of a hat and a jacket, and that's all I kind of
Oh, wait.
remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, "Oh, okay, just a child and not being silly." Well, a few weeks went by, and my brother had his friend over, and they spent the night.
Mm-hmm.
And he complained about seeing something passing at the end of the bed.
Oh, jeez.
He said it just kind of like the door was already open, and they passed through the door over the end of the bed and vanished.
Oh my gosh.
And they went, "Oh, they put it that way, you've been drinking or something," because they were like 18 or 19.
Oh, okay, they were older.
So yeah, forget that one.
Right.
So it so happened that we moved out not long afterwards, and we found out that the house was actually built on the old cemetery. And the people who
goodness.
actually moved in after us stayed no more than 2 weeks and vanished overnight. They just
Whoa.
moved up. They just upped and left. They couldn't
Up
cope with
and
it.
left.
So,
Whoa.
so that is my kind of ghost story. It's not scary,
Wow.
but that's
And
all I remember of it.
that's crazy. So how long did you live there in that house?
I think we were there not long because of
Yeah.
the main reasons that I was complaining there was a strange man on the stairs.
Right.
The friend of my brother who said like
Right.
something there, and I think my mum. I can't remember. Mum actually felt something, but she said there was a presence in the house that didn't make her feel homely.
I see.
Never saw anything. Never
Right.
actually heard anything go bump in the middle of the night or anything like that.
Right.
It just there was something.
It didn't feel, yeah.
Homely. I think that was the best way to describe
Right.
it.
Right.
And
Yeah, and
We,
you
we
said the
never moved.
dog wouldn't go up there.
Yeah,
So that's a
yeah,
clue.
that's a clue. So that was it really. We wasn't there long. We were only there for a few months.
Hmm.
Because we actually moved out of Cheltenham to a seaside town down
Hmm.
in Dorset.
Oh
So
well.
that's where my father had come from. So we moved to that area,
Hmm.
and that was it. And we heard that the people who moved in after us only stayed like 2 weeks, and
Wow.
nobody knew that they left.
So you made it much longer
We
than the
made it a
next
bit longer,
family.
yes.
So do you know, you said it's built on a cemetery. Do you know when, do you remember when that house was built? Because I know a lot of stuff in England is pretty old that
Oh,
people live
this
in.
wasn't that old.
No.
The cemetery might have been,
Hmm.
obviously, because it was the old cemetery.
Hmm.
But if I was this would what early 70s, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it wasn't, yeah, it was just that it was built on the
Yeah,
cemetery.
yeah.
Yeah, do you know, do they remove like the bodies before they build, or do you have any clue?
I I think this was part of it. I don't
Hmm.
think that they actually did,
Okay.
and
Oh
I
boy.
and I think there were other stories where
Hmm.
some people got affected, some weren't, and because it
Hmm.
was newly created houses,
Right.
there was a disturbance in, let's say, the spirit world at that point.
Right.
Um, but I've been back to the area and I've been
Hmm.
around there, and you don't hear the stories now as
Really?
you did then.
Hmm.
So maybe there is something in the spirit world that makes
Hmm.
ghosts, especially if you disrupt something like, let's say, a graveyard or something
Right.
for
Hmm.
a period of time.
Right.
Now, I
Hmm.
know there are haunted castles in England, and
Hmm.
that continuously goes on. So maybe it's because in the housing estate,
Hmm.
maybe they did try and do some kind of removal or something. I don't know.
Right. Some
Being
kind
4 years old and moving to another part of the
of,
country,
right.
you kind of lose touch of the details.
Right.
And you don't really care at four. All you really
Right.
want to know is, do I get another bottle of milk and a cookie or sorry, a biscuit?
A biscuit. There you go. So yeah, and that's something I find interesting. So I feel like all the ghost stories I hear out of England, the ones that I do hear, they're never malicious, they're never scary. It's just kind of like, oh, you just see stuff. Especially the castles, that kind of thing. But I feel like so many American stories, all of our ghosts are always like they're angry and they, are like possessing people or making things move. So I I don't know what the difference, I guess, in that is, if there's real truth to it, or if it's just kind of the way we see our ghost versus your ghost. But
Maybe it's something called the Hollywood effect.
that's true.
If you think about America, they're very entrepreneurial in one sense that they like to make money from things.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
if we can make something that's a little bit more scary, maybe people will come and find out about it.
Right. Right.
So,
That's a good point, because yeah, pretty much all of the really scary movies with ghost type stuff, and like they're always American based, that's not taking place overseas. But because when I went and stayed with a friend a couple of years ago, and her friends, they rented out this old house out in the countryside in England. I don't remember which town. And so it said some of the oldest parts of the house were from the Tudor era, and then the more recent parts were from like the 1800s. So
yeah, recent 1800.
right. So, and I thought I would get scared at an old house here that was built in the 1800s, but over there I wasn't as scared because I don't hear like mean ghost stories. I thought I might see something I don't want to see, but I
Yeah,
don't think it's going to affect me.
yeah. I don't think we have the demon side of ghosts.
Hmm.
It's just more vision and feeling.
Right.
I think this
Right.
is the dramatization of
Hmm.
Hollywood is kind of
Right.
grown.
Right. Well,
Uh,
and I wonder, because you are such a, like, all of your buildings are so old, or, in general, you guys are used to living in old places
yes.
or hanging out. And whereas we get pretty spooked, if you're in a historic home.
Well, yeah, that's true. I remember as I said, I was in a relationship with an American,
Mm-hmm.
and she came across and went, "Oh, forgive us that our house is old." Well, what do you mean it's old? Yeah, it was built in like 1960s, something. I went,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, okay." It's not really old though, is it? It's something like not quite 50, not even quite an antique yet.
Right.
Well, it's old by our standards. Why? How old is your house? I said, well, my house was built in 1884, so it's a Victorian house. Oh, I don't know if I could go and sleep in an old house like that. Do you have a ghost? And I was like, no.
Exactly.
Just because it's old doesn't mean it's haunted.
Right, right. But that's, yeah, I guess that's our American mindset.
Yeah, but taking that, Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as old as America, is it?
Mm-hmm.
In that sense,
Mm-hmm.
but everything is new. You know,
Mm.
in America, if you think about it, and Brazil, this is just stating the obvious.
Right,
But if you want a new building, you tear down the old and start
right.
at base rock.
Mm-hmm.
Where in England, like you say, we had a Tudor part of the house, and we have an 18th century part of the
Right.
house, and we've got a 21st century part of the house. That's the same with my one of my business partners in the UK.
Oh,
He has
cool.
an old farmhouse, and
Mm-hmm.
technically it was two eras joined
Mm-hmm.
together. Now it's three because he built a granny house on
Oh,
the
wow.
end of it. So
That's,
he's now spanning
yeah.
three
I
sections.
love that though. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I wish we didn't tear everything down.
There's a plus and a minus for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate new and modern,
Mm-hmm.
but I still like traditional things,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it,
Right.
really?
So can you speak to how in Brazil, what's the feeling on ghost there?
I don't think they're old enough to have ghosts.
Okay.
I haven't come across any, and I don't hear people really
And
saying no.
nobody says either way.
No, probably they just tear the building down and build a shopping mall on top of it, and job done.
That's great. Oh, that's good. So, I rarely have someone who has an alien and a ghost story. I think it's only happened once because until then, I had a theory going that people are either ghost leaning or alien leaning, that you don't usually get a feeling for both or even have an interest in both. Like for
Yeah.
me, I'm definitely more ghost leaning. I think the paranormal stuff's way more entertaining and the aliens like yeah, I mean, sure, they're probably out there, but I don't care. They don't interest
Well,
me.
yeah, I think you've got more chance to find a ghost than you have an alien.
Right. Right. So yeah, so I guess I'll put the question to you. Are you more ghost leaning or alien leaning?
Well, I guess we have to say ghosts, just by past experience.
Right. Right.
I haven't really had an alien experience. I've sometimes seen something in the sky and think, "Oh, I wonder if it's a UFO."
Right.
But I
Right.
think that's more wishful thinking
Mm-hmm.
than actual perception.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Apart
I
from things
don't
like Star Wars, does that count as aliens?
sure.
Yeah, okay. So I have both then. I like aliens because I like
That's
Star
great.
Wars.
That's hilarious. That's something I've never seen any of this. I think I've seen maybe bits of one of the first Star Wars, but I've never really watched any of the Star Wars movies. And that, yeah, bothers a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe we're going to have a big cooking program
Right.
with the Star Wars going on behind. And
Okay, yeah. Oh, I always forget. I did see one of them, the full length, whichever one came out in probably between like 2000 and 2004. There was one with Hayden Christensen, an actor, and my best friend at the time was obsessed with him. And so we had to go see whatever movie he was in. So I saw a random Star Wars movie, not knowing what was going on.
well, if you remember any of the droids by name,
I
by any
don't.
chance? No. Well, a little bit better than my wife then.
Oh,
She thought one of them was called MP3 and Arthur. Like,
oh, and
so
oh, I see.
my
What
wife
is it?
and you can.
I was saying, is there an R2D2? Is he a
There
droid?
you go.
There we
Perfect.
go. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and the little bears with swords. So, well, there's no bears and there's no swords.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. What are the little bear things called?
Ewoks.
Ewoks, right. Okay. I have heard of an Ewok. I just couldn't remember. That was the same
I
thing.
think the American alternative is very similar to an Ewok is a gremlin.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the gremlins. Yeah,
Yeah, that's another
they look very
American.
similar.
Very
Mm-hmm.
similar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very fun. Well, Trevor, it's been so lovely having a chat with you and having you on. Thank you for being
Likewise, I
on.
appreciate it. Thank you for the
Yes.
invitation.
Do you have any final words?
Uh, Final word. End,
I just
finish,
like to ask people that because I think
terminate.
it sounds a bit scary, so I like it.
Oh, oh, can't think of it at the moment. That's
Oh,
for sure. Apart from,
okay.
let's do it again.
Okay, yes. Yeah, next time we'll have to show everyone Bubble and Squeak how it's done properly.
Yeah. And, for an end word, I guess, if anybody's watching, go and have a look at the Basecamp app. Go and
Oh,
support
right.
the local charity.
Yes.
That's really the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
See what they're doing, see if you can help. And
Absolutely.
if anybody's interested, let us know, and we'll see if we can partner with you.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Trevor. This has been Virtual Tea Time with Amy. I'm Amy Mitchell with Houses of Windsor. And thank you for everyone who watched live and whoever watches in the future. And as I always say, whoever watches into eternity, because it's going to go on YouTube. So we'll be immortalized.
Oh, oh. Start
But,
selling tickets and autographs now.
right. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Thank
rest of
you.
your afternoon. All right.
Likewise.
Cheers.
Hello.